Hi, I'm Matt Bacon, and this is My Point 4 Cents.
I'm Jesse Cadden.
I'm Andrew Southworth, and this week we have a super exciting interview with Ryan Shuck, who was a member of the band Orgy, Dead by Sunrise, and more recently, Julian K.
And unfortunately, our friend Dustin Boyer can't join us today, but he'll be back with us next week. So, Andrew, you brought to our attention this video that's gotten quite a big discussion going because this artist, Cara, had her music deleted from Spotify, like many people we all talk to. And I think now is a great time to get into this really odd phenomenon and how dumb it is.
Yeah, and I guess to give some context, obviously everyone go check out the video because it actually is a very interesting video with a lot of good points and a lot of good criticisms of Spotify and streaming in general. But summary of the video is that she spent about $100,000 making this album of hers. And years later, Spotify pulled the platform. So in this video, she goes over, there's zero marketing costs, which is one big critical thing I have about this. All that $100,000 has no marketing. There was no marketing budget whatsoever. But she goes to all of her costs of production, the cost of the mixing, the cost of the mastering, the cost of the studio time, cost of the video production. For example, there's a $40,000 video production budget inside of there as a line item. But she did all this, and the album made back, I think it was something like $1,200 from streaming, and then it got pulled off the platform for artificial streaming, which is a huge problem that artists have nowadays. I'm sure a lot of people watching this have probably known people that it's happened to. They've seen it on Reddit, but you two guys have probably seen many artists have that problem too, right? They have a song pulled, they get an angry message from DistroKid or from TuneCore or whatever. And
is there any other post on the music marketing Reddit at this point?
No, yeah. Yeah, and this is a huge problem at Spotify. It's artists getting their music pulled. It's not one distributor. A lot of people act like it's just DistroKid, but the fact is DistroKid distributes something like 70% of all music. So the only reason you hear about it from DistroKid users is because of the volume of DistroKid users. I know people have had the music pulled from TuneCore, CD Baby, Symphonic, Amuse, everything, right? United Masters. All the distributors have this problem, except for like The Orchard and other distributors that are like subsidiaries of majors, or they're taking a commission of your royalties and stuff like that.
Maybe we should start the discussion there, though, because I think that's a thing we really have to get to, which is that some of the problem, though, is that now many of these distributors have decided customer service is where we lose our money, so we're just not going to have any. And when you go to Symphonic and United Masters, I have found that at least you can talk to them and potentially get your music back. Whereas with TuneCore, DistroKid, CD Baby, you are going to hit a wall where if you try I've been shown some emails threads that are 6 months long, maybe 5 emails back in those 6 months with the artist replying immediately, and they get nowhere. And some of these distributors you get far. Other ones like The Orchard, the more elevated distributions that you actually have to get selected for and approved, you could get this taken care of very fast.
For the self-serve distributors, anyone can just go and sign up with for literally like 30, 40, 50 bucks a year or per release, whatever it is. For those distributors, what happens is Spotify flags your release as artificial streaming, which often involves a various threshold of artificial streaming activity. It could be bots, could be human behavior, but that's artificial. And they flag it to the distributor. And what happens is Spotify is actually just fining the distributor $10 for the release. And if you're with the distributor that has a relationship with you, they will work with you, maybe pass that charge on to you, and you pay it and eat it. And if you're working with one of these self-serve distributors, they don't have that relationship with that customer support. So they just yank your music from the platform and say, screw you. And a lot of times you can just re-upload it in the same platform. Almost any case, you can re-upload it on a different platform. But the reality is they don't give you the benefit of doubt. They don't hit you up. They don't work with you. They don't pass the fee on to you. It's just like, whatever, we're just going to pull your album. And in the case of Cara, she has like 1 million monthly listeners or something.
She should, at her peak, 1.5 million.
So this is the first time I've seen it happen with an artist of this size. It's usually what happens is you're a small artist, which could be 100 monthly listeners, could be 5, could be 1,000. You have some releases that don't get any streams, and then randomly, they get added to a botted playlist. And all of a sudden, 90% of the streams in the song are from bots. Spotify flags it. DistroKid pulls your whole album. There's no fighting back with that. Spotify doesn't have any appeal process for this. And I own a distro platform. Like, we work with another company that actually delivers the distribution, but we don't even have the power to fight this. There is no official appeals process for a distributor to dispute the decision of artificial streaming. There's people you can contact and email, but you can't like actually fight it.
It's not good.
No.
It's also interesting and a bummer because I think that like the bar for like paranoia is so high at Spotify because there's been so much botting that like if you get like a few hundred botted streams, like suddenly it could blow up in your face. I also think there's this joke I make a lot to bands when they're considering signing to like a real label for the first time, is that a big part of the joy of labels is that you act like of bigger labels is that you actually get customer service for your distribution.
I literally, my video next week is about that.
And like that might sound really shitty and like that shouldn't be something you should have to rely on a label for, but sorry.
And we should say it's not just labels, it's having a distributor like the Orchard, Red Eye, any of the bigger ones that you can often get better customer service. But even it's not even just Spotify. It can be things like, like when your Instagram gets hacked, though it seems they're more reluctant to help with that than ever. But other things that happen, the big thing is now is that if you don't have a better relationship, your career is very susceptible to a lot of fuckery.
Yeah. And in Kara's case, she did just use DistroKid. She probably could have done things through a bigger distributor because she's got hundreds of thousands of YouTube subscribers. She's had a successful sample business, collaborated with massive artists over the years. But, while she could have fixed the problem, she decided that what she's going to do is she's going to pull all of her music from Spotify and not just Spotify, all streaming. So no Apple, no Tidal, no anything. She's going 100% YouTube only going forward.
Just with that record, though.
No, for anything she has the power to distribute. She has a lot of collaborations that are out of her control.
Okay.
Any of her music where she has the power to control distribution.
Okay.
Nothing going forward on any streaming. And so this video is about Spotify, kind of, but it's really all streaming because the money and the figures she gives in this video are for all streaming aggregated. And there's a few false points in it. Like, I think one thing, like, she's a big artist where her doing this actually can maybe get someone at Spotify's attention to be like, hey, maybe you guys should fucking fix this problem. Artists this big are having this. Like, they don't care if 10,000 artists a year are getting their albums pulled that are small, right? It sucks, but they don't care. And artists like this, hundreds of thousands of people have now seen this video. So I think that I'm glad she made the video, but there's some like false things that I saw.
Yeah.
Which is why if you go in her video, you'll see I have one of the top comments because I posted the comment for her.
That's what we do. That's what we do around here is we correct this stuff.
We correct this stuff. And so one thing she says is she's going 100% YouTube only because YouTube actually compensates her for her music. And I don't know what you guys have seen, but I found in almost every situation that YouTube AdSense pays less than Spotify does.
Yeah. I was really confused about that point because YouTube like famously pays the least.
There's an argument that it is if you're set up all properly and everything is fully monetized through it and they're not streaming just your song, that they're streaming your video, that you with the combined royalty rate get more than Spotify now, is what I've heard some people say. I haven't personally gone and done the fact check on that, but like that's the argument. But if you're just hitting play on your topic song, you're getting paid worse than Spotify.
But the other thing too, and this I want to be very clear about this, she is probably making more money from her YouTube than from her music. But that's because it's a YouTube with 200,000 people that isn't really about her music.
Yeah.
Like some of her music is on there, but if you're like, I was digging into this when I watched the video, right? Is like, if you look at her top videos, most of it is not her songs. It's her like showing you how to do vocal recordings and her showing you how to do Mac production. And like the type of content she's putting out is not, it's content about music. It is not music content. Like I'm trying to find like the last music upload was like 6 months ago, which is fine. Like I'm not saying that you need to be constantly posting your songs on YouTube or, I'm just saying like let's be clear about what's actually making money here.
Yeah, we want to discuss the facts. And another fact of it is that her husband is a very popular music production YouTuber named Reed Stefan, who people may have seen. He's a puppet character who does music production tutorials.
Yeah, she is literally married to a puppet, technically. There is a real man that controls the puppet.
Yes. Listen, we're not doing that in America anymore. No more of that marrying puppets anymore.
but Matt, yeah, that's a good point. And with YouTube, the pay rate is incredibly variable depending on the content you make. Typically for my channel, I see RPMs, which is the amount of money I make for every 1,000 views, somewhere between $9 and $12 per 1,000 views. Typically for music channels, for the same country distribution, it'll be between $2 and $3 per 1,000 views, which is basically what Spotify pays, $2 and $3 per 1,000 views. So music videos pay way less. Music production content is probably somewhere in between those two ranges, because like when you're doing music content, or you're like a video game channel or something, all the ads that are on your channel, like Dollar Shave Club, Walmart, Amazon, more generic, low-paying advertisers. But on like my channel and Jesse's channel, and probably this podcast channel, you're getting like marketing things, like companies that are willing to pay top dollar to reach people who are trying to do marketing and business tools and whatever. Music production, there's all those music production businesses, right? Or Apple might run a thing on her Mac tutorial, like whatever, right? There's all
plug-in companies.
Plug-in companies are huge, like Waves. Waves is willing to pay money to get it because they can make a ton of money. So she's probably doing better than most regular artists on her RPMs, which might be why she thinks that it's her music, when really it's like her music ancillary content.
The other thing to realize, and I don't want to like dump on her at all, right?
She did a great job on these videos despite some flaws, and all due respect.
But the other thing to realize is that this is just sort of something people don't understand, I think, because I think most people who consume my content tend to come from more of like a DIY music space. There's not a lot, but there's people out there, especially in LA, who have like 1 million Spotify monthlies, like Kara, who aren't actually popular artists. They're just really good writers or beat makers or producers. And so, like, she has songs with millions and millions of streams, but I don't get the impression that her solo record was like some sort of banger. And if you look at like the record where she's on the cover, like it doesn't have a ton of streams. And again, it's fine. Like she's doing something cool. She's helping people. Obviously, she has great collabs. Like, I'm not trying to hate. I'm just trying to say, like, when she contextualizes some of this stuff, when you look at how the deals probably actually work, which is like, oh, you're getting a feature on this, but we just paid you a flat rate to be the producer. We paid you a flat rate for the beats. We paid you a flat rate for vocals on all the tracks. Like, that is not actually her fan base or something she's actually getting paid royalties on. And again, I don't know her specific details. I'm just saying something I see a lot.
I think that's the case. Because her,
like
album only got 1.2 million streams in like a year or something. 1.5 years.
And I'm not trying to like make any assumptions about anyone's business. I'm just trying to say that was what I thought it probably was when it started.
All right, so I pulled up the different categories that she spent money in. I did use the whole ask thing on YouTube, so if there's a little AI transcribing error, forgive me, but if from memory, this all rings a bell. So I'll read through them. Just in the order that the Gemini gave them to me. Lawyer fees ranged from $8 to $12K for the entire album, just getting all the different agreements with the different collaborators. Mixing engineers, $2,000 to $4,000 per song, which keep in mind there were 12 songs on this record. Mastering engineers, $300 to $800 per song. Now, these two categories too, we'll cover this after, but these are, you can pay these numbers, but these are egregious.
These are the upper end of pop budgets. I see these budgets constantly. This is as much as anybody's paying, but that's also, if that's what you need to do to make your sausage, sometimes that's what you need to do to make your sausage.
And she very clearly was like, look, that I could have not invested as much money, but I wanted to really, at least once in my life, really go for it, which I respect.
Yeah. Well, I will say I don't know who charges $800 a song for mastering, because like Sterling, which does
Yeah.
like Post Malone, charges $300 a song. So I don't know
Yeah.
who's doing 800, but
The highest end of mastering I ever see is usually 600, but I believe there can be more than that.
Photo shoot 1 to 3K, which I totally believe. Really, all these like all the ones going forward, I've seen more common. Like photo shoots are expensive, but the video shoots here, $40,000 video production budget. Which in the video she explains one thing she did is every song on Spotify got a canvas that was custom filmed like crazy, plus all the social media content. And I think there might have been one music video.
Yeah.
They
there was.
edited everything in house for $200 to $600 per day to have in-house editors they were working alongside, and then all the camera gear, and they actually have the YouTube video separate, the music video for $8,000 separately from that 40K production video. So 50K of this budget, if not more, was video production, and $0 was for marketing, unless you count the videos as marketing.
It's funny because most people I work with, at least, put this under marketing, but under a category called creative.
Yeah, because it is marketing, right? Like,
Yeah.
making a music video is a marketing cost, but it's like none of these things will inherently market your music. Like, if you make an awesome music video, it can get views on its own, right? Like, we upload videos to YouTube and we get views. Like, that's or TikTok or Instagram and stuff. But there is nothing on here for actual like paid marketing tactics, right? So obviously, like there's the whole meta ad thing, but there's also like a PR company, and there's also like there's a million things you could do in the world of paid marketing, and $0 of that. Where there's not even like a hire Jesse Cannon to help with social media strategy line item, right? There's none of that. So and in her second follow-up, or her follow-up to this video, she mentions like, thank goodness I didn't spend anything in marketing because the album got pulled anyways, which in my opinion is a bad opinion, because like if she had marketed it, it's not like you're just marketing on Spotify, right? You're marketing like the whole artist on every platform, and it would also have helped the YouTube. So, but that's the breakdowns. What do you guys think about it?
There's a lot here, and so first of all, like if you really, really, really want to go for it and like really get the top end everything, then yeah, spending $100,000 just on the record, no merch, no touring, nothing else. It's definitely possible, and this was definitely like a dream come true. Fine. But I think it's genuinely valuable for people to see like what those numbers can look like on the high end, but I also think like, obviously she didn't expect the song to be taken off of Spotify, but I'm not sure what she thinks is going to happen in general. Like, I feel like if you're not like marketing the product, like it's like we talked about before, like the personality content isn't winning you fans really, right? Like music producer content, which is good, is not getting people to listen to your music in most cases, right? And so like I don't know if this was like, and I kind of got the impression that like she was building around that false idea of like this is how it works, which I don't know. Like it always confuses me. Like I said before, this is definitely someone who like has cool producer credits, has cool auxiliary songwriter credits or whatever. Very impressive, good stuff. But like, it always surprises me when people who are like plugged in have like no clue about this stuff.
There's an interesting argument I see in budgets for this, and it particularly mostly happens in her type of space, where what you're going to do is you're going to go downstream from the creative in your marketing. And what I mean by that is that basically you're going to invest in creating really sick things that potentially people are going to be impressed with the artistry, impressed with this. Like a great example of this being done well is the majority of Addison Rae's marketing for this last record was just literally, we are going to get the best team of creatives possible to create really sick looking shit. And the girls and the gays who do a lot of the early influencing in pop will then talk about how sick it is. And that will do most of the work for us. I will say, I think that approach is very, very rare that it works. I have seen so many times that people are in on this and they're like, you do this and let's do the shocking thing. I will literally say, if you have this much money, that where's the money for the ad budget? Gonna shock everyone here. You got $100,000. There should be a fucking ad budget somewhere in there. So the point being, there should be an ad budget. There should be a UGC-influencer marketing budget. There should be a lot of these things and diversify it. The number one thing I will say is when I have been involved in these, and I've even had it when the artist just calls me and goes, here's the budget the label and management have come up with. Do you think this is dumb? When I look at how those things do, and they usually are focusing on just creative is going to fuel everything, it usually ends up failing.
Hot take, might be hot take. I think at least 50% of your budget on a project should be reserved for marketing.
Okay, so I want to get particular so people understand what you're saying. If we're saying budget, does budget include only after the song and production are done, or you're saying?
No, I'm saying including. So like if you need to record a song and make content, like you're paying for mixing, mastering, like everything, right? Making the song, making the content around the song, and then marketing. I think 50% of that budget should be spent on the marketing minimum.
I think there is a very good argument, and for those who don't know me, I was a record producer for much longer than I've been a marketer, that a great song in a lot of genres, that paying for that production could do a lot more than your marketing. So 50% sometimes feels excessive to me because there's not a lot of money. Like if we're talking about a $4,000 budget all in, having $2,000 extra to go and get a better mixer and mastering engineer in a lot of genres can do a lot better. But if we're talking 30,000 or 100,000, I start to come much closer to being in agreement with you.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, like, also just to be clear, like, there's lots of really valid ways to promote your music for free, and there's lots of artists who've gotten really big with extremely little or no paid marketing. In terms of like they put money on influencers, they put money on ads, and they had like really good content, but also there was other stuff interlocking, be that throwing in collabs, having the community build, doing a shit ton of touring, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, I've seen people who go as far as to spend like $5,000 making a song and then $5,000 making a music video. And then when it comes to the paid marketing budget, they're like, it's fighting to get $1,000 out of them.
That's crazy.
And
but you see that all the fucking time.
All the time.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it'd be much better if if they could have made the music video for half the money or just not done a music video and done something socially instead. Or like instead of hiring that $600 mastering engineer, get one for $200. And instead of hiring that $3,000 mixing guy, maybe find someone for $1,500. Like obviously the more you spend on production for the most part, the better. But like there's severe diminishing returns going from like someone charging $1,000 to mix and master your record versus $10,000. It's not like it's 20% to 100%. It's like 95% to 99%.
I tend to see the same thing with music videos, is that the difference between a $10,000 and a $40,000 music video a lot of the time is, yes, it's a little bit of looks, but usually it's not going to get a shareability. It's not going to do it. I think like the interesting thing for us to get into here is like, I think about this a lot, like songs and newsletters are very similar in this way, of that you put out a song, and if you don't bring attention to it, it is very, very unlikely that it's going to do anything. A newsletter, it's like the same thing. It's like there's not a lot of shareability there unless you're linking into it. But if people aren't forwarding it, and the big thing being is that you have to create a thing where enough people have seen it that they start sharing it. That is the majority of what is going to move a needle for any marketing campaign, is that people have to be excited enough either by what you did in the creative of the video to share it, or what you did in the song to share it to people and say, you really got to see this.
Can I also just quickly share the dirty secret of big budget music videos?
Tell me. I can't imagine what it is.
Very frequently when the label does like a 40,000 video budget for something that could have been done with a quarter of that, it's just so the artist can feel like they're taken care of. It's just about like a flex. And for the record, if you're like at a big, really integrated label, they spend $40,000. A lot of that money wasn't actually to external people. They were just taking it from your budget and then paying their video team. So technically, yeah, $40,000 video. Like those guys are probably talented. I'm just saying a lot of times it's a flex. Also, like consistently, I see people creating incredible music videos that are having a lot of attention for a few $100. And I'm not just talking about the OK Go video. Like you see this all the time. And if you start talking to artists, very frequently they'll be like, oh yeah, we've been making videos for like under $1,000 for years. And I just think that's important to realize. But to circle all the way back on budgets and like how much are we supposed to spend on marketing and stuff, there's this thing of like the core product needs to be really good, right? But I think people get so into like the shiny object syndrome of, oh, what if I saved another $1,000 and got the next producer up the chain? And I don't know, like, okay, you got the next producer up the chain, but now you have nothing to spend on putting it in the world.
And those name credits don't really move
Yeah,
the needle. Like
that's really
I've had
important.
people, they're like, well, why isn't this marketing campaign working? We have this mastering engineer, this mixing engineer, and like they're like, we got to mention this in the marketing that we have this dude. And like I've tried that a few times, specifically mentioning like, featuring members of fancy band, produced by fancy guy, mastered by fancy guy. And the reality is people just don't care. Like most listeners just don't know any of these names and they don't care about any of those names because
Can I
that's the
share my
point.
favorite story about this?
Sure.
Yeah.
I saw Elton John in Madison Square Garden. He's had the same guitarist since like the 70s, Davy Johnstone. At Madison Square Garden, Elton John shouted out Davy Johnstone's record. I went, like, that had just come out. I went to look it up the next day, 2,000 Spotify monthlies. Like, people do not care who played on your record.
There's a cult list of people that care. Like if there's certain people who
Even
like
then, do they really
love
care?
all analog mastering and they want, they buy things because they're mastered by certain dudes, and that's a thing, but it's not like the bulk of people. It's like a subset,
I'll do my hot take here. It matters a lot for the people who are really good at early adopting and building your fan base early on, and that can often be a gateway to better things early on, because like I am that type of nerd and I am that type of person you want texting all his friends with influence going, this is fucking sick. I am that type of person, but it is true that that person is not going to move the needle if you care about numbers. They may just help with a lot of early adoption, but if you already have the early adoption, let's say you're at 30,000 monthly listeners, getting the guy who's in the cool band to produce it is not going to move more than 10% of your needle at best.
It helps a lot with some like niche things, like if you're trying to sell physical media, for example, like vinyl collectors and stuff like that,
The same type of people I am. It's just I'm not a vinyl collector.
Yeah. We all represent different flavors of nerdy music people and early adopters, and we're all the people whose like friends come to us to hear about new music and stuff, right? And we probably have caused bands to get some traction down the line because of like telling friends about stuff, but it's like it's not like I don't know. Overall, it's not this huge thing if you have these credits. So paying for those credits to have those credits help your music career is just kind of wasted money a lot of the time.
If you have a meaningful following and you like haven't figured out how to do merch, even if you have a small following and you haven't figured out how to do merch, you deserve whatever you get. Like, I don't know, man. Like, there's like one really clear way that every artist monetizes this, and I know that certain genres do better than others, but like, come on.
Merch and touring, big income source. And she skipped both of them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And this is just another thing that really annoyed me. Touring is expensive. There are so many ways to do it cheaper. And like, yeah, okay, maybe you're not going to get to play in front of 1,000 people a night. Maybe you're going to play in front of 20. Okay. Like, I don't fucking know. It's just like, yeah, there's ways to maybe you invest more up front on like a cool MIDI light rig and backing tracks. I don't know. I see people doing really DIY tours, making money all the time, even with weird or complicated or outsider music.
So today on My Point 4 Cents, we have Ryan Shuck with us, who has a pretty ridiculous legacy music career journey, stuff that's still going on that's awesome that we're going to talk about, including his awesome crowdfunding campaign that he just pulled off last night at the time of filming this, which we're going to get into. But also, like, you have you were in the band Orgy, which if people don't know that band, awesome band. Everyone watching this has probably heard that song Blue Monday because it's in like a bunch of movies and stuff. And also you were in Dead by Sunrise, Chester Bennington. You were in Edema for a bit. You're in Julian K right now. And you also have songwriting credits with Korn. You've been signed to all these things over the years. You've had music in video games, Sonic, Transformers. I don't know if that was a video game or the movie Transformers.
The movie. The movie.
The movie. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. So
the first movie.
pretty
Yeah, yeah.
you've had a pretty epic music career, if I do say so myself. And we've talked about some of that already. So that'll come up along the way as we're talking about stuff here. But um, I want to focus on the specific crowdfunding thing that you guys just did for Julian K. Because I think no one else really does awesome things like this. I mean, there's people that do crowdfunding, but like the way you guys did it was
Mhm.
especially awesome. It was very successful. And then the live show that you guys pulled off last night was like phenomenal. Like one of the best, if not the best, live stream concert thing I've ever seen. I've only seen a couple, but like one of my favorites was the Tesseract one. They did a thing called Portals.
That
They're like a
sounds like it would
prog
be
metal.
really, really good.
Yeah, it was really awesome. And yeah, your guys's was up there with that, which I was expecting it to be awesome just because I know you, but I wasn't expecting it to be quite this awesome. And so I
Wow.
guess
Yeah.
if you could walk everyone through kind of what was this crowdfunding mission you guys did, and then
Okay,
we'll go to the nuance of how you marketed, how you talked about it, all that stuff.
sure. Okay. Well, this particular crowdfunding campaign that we did and this live performance that we did was really the most experimental crowdfunding campaign that we've done since the first one. We have a lot of success using established platforms like Indiegogo. And, within those platforms, there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of built-in systems, there's a lot of limitations. And by the way, if you don't know what you're doing, limitations can be really, really good. And in the
Yeah,
beginning, we didn't know what we were doing, and most people don't. Some people intrinsically get it, but I would say that to do crowdfunding correctly, you really it is truly a lot of work, and every campaign that we've done has been months and months and months of gaming out the campaigns and building them like we would be building a really fun game for our fans. Something people can get involved in where there's actual, dopamine hits involved, and there's things you can sort of like, you know, i- people always ask, how is it that you sell out of the $1,500 perks within the first 5 minutes? Like, how do you do that? And well,
yeah,
we make a bit of a game out of it. We make everything limited. We do all these really, really cool things. There's a lot of thought put into every single perk, like what makes one thing different than the other thing. We go through and we test, how everything is working, the purchasing, all that kind of stuff. You have to really figure out all the things that have to do with shipping. You can have a successful campaign and find out that you built it incorrectly and have the shipping bill be more than what you raised. So you got to be very, very
yeah,
careful, and that's only getting worse now with all the customs and tariffs and everything that's happening. Everything's gotten much, much more complicated in that regard. So that being said, we really had mastered the preset sort of template that Indiegogo allows you. We've kind of pushed it as far as you can possibly push it. If there's a part of that, you know, Indiegogo template that can be art directed, we art directed it. We got in there, we changed everything that they would allow you to change. We made it as customized
yeah,
as you could make it, but it was still a white page with like a pretty vanilla, like little section to put stuff in, and then just kind of like some, templated little squares of stuff that got more and more limited the bigger Indiegogo got. And there's no shopping cart. There's all these things that we would love to have access to. Also, if you're in there, focused on this campaign and you're buying that stuff, wouldn't it be cool if you could also, like, while you're in there, buy some of our other stuff from our store and all that kind of stuff?
yeah,
So these were all the things that kind of bothered us, and we were so good at doing it I guess we can call it the standard way, that we kind of put off the risky way. And that is the question started to come up a lot in our little circle. Could we build this into our own Shopify store? Could we do I mean, or would we do this and it would just fall on its face? Like, does this capability even exist? Is there magic in the Indiegogo, layout or Kickstarter layout? Or is it actually us bringing the magic and interacting with this thing, this ubiquitous site that people can kind of trust? So we kind of embarked on the mission. We moved our web store over to a Shopify store, which, by the way, um, fucking smartest thing that we've ever done. We increased our
yeah,
sales, I would say 10x, not 2x, not 3x, but like 10x.
One of the reasons that we did it was because I know that Shopify has a built-in Meta integration, which means that,
Yep.
when you're buying ads or creating ads for your products, anything you're selling through Shopify, you do get that kind of built-in sort of reporting and kind of it's just so integrated. When you're running an ad, and let's say you're spending even $25 a day on it, you that's a lot of money over a couple of days. I mean, for a band or a week or 2 weeks, like you're starting to get into the hundreds and then thousands of dollars. So it's really nice to look on Ads Manager and see like what your actual profit is from your spend
Yeah.
and pay attention to those like ROAS ratios and stuff like that. Now, they aren't always 100% accurate, but you can kind of look on the back end of your Shopify and you can look at the ad and you can kind of confirm a lot of what's going on. When I say not 100% accurate, I mean a big company would have an additional set of software which would be analyzing exactly what it would be something over the top of it, but then you're starting to get into the expense, levels of like real companies. We're kind of getting there where we might need it because we have a lot of stuff going on, but that is so cool to have it baked in the cake. You're not gonna get that with Indiegogo. Even if you put your pixel into the, Indiegogo, site, you're not gonna get that level of reporting back and forth. So, I do a lot of ad work myself. I work with you. I work with a lot of people to constantly push my brand forward. And I thought, gosh, I've learned so much about how to do this. Wouldn't it be cool if we brought this completely into our own website? I stupidly, or maybe this is a trick that I know, I tricked myself into doing really hard things. And I bit off, as usual, far more than I can chew. But one skill I know I have, and it is not being talented and smart, it is being relentless. So I ended up, getting everyone that's involved in our business, from our merch company, Go Circus Merch, which by the way, I recommend anyone that plans on building a real merch business, partner with someone like them, if not them, because they're Shopify masters. That's who can ship and stock all your goods, all this kind of stuff. And if you get to even our level, which is, in my opinion, not that big, but we're really selling stuff every day and you go on tour and all that kind of stuff, you need someone to kind of make that continue to run. And if
Yeah.
you get your Shopify and your online store game working, then it's going to be working when you're on tour. So I recommend
And
that. They helped us immensely. You even gave me excellent advice in a ton of different ways. And I just really started I just kind of did what I do in my role in my team is to be, I guess in some companies they call you the CEO. In my company, I'm the beast, and I get in there and we just kind of started tearing at this thing. That was sort of the purpose of this campaign was, can we come up with a reason? Can we come up with some kind of a product or an idea, something that sounds fun for our fans that would give us a reason to try to build this functionality into our own site? So, I almost went into like breaking down the whole thing, and I'm sure you're gonna ask me some better questions, uh, but
No,
than what
that
I
that
can
was
think of.
awesome, I think you guys did in particular a really good job of how you really made it feel like it was part of your world and your brand. Like this show, it was called Ritual. At least that's
Yeah,
the I mean, and even when you sent it, you said, well, I'm not gonna say it, but like there was where that came into play even for the friends and family invite thing. But you the show was called Ritual, and like you the branding from the aesthetic, right? From the outside looking in on the sales. If you go to Julian K now, it's on there. I don't know if it'll still be on there,
yeah.
in
It
the
should be up
features
there
or
for a
whatever
while.
upstairs.
Yeah.
But you have this like master techno alchemist for $1,500 package. You have Ritual Complete, only 50 available, Ritual Essentials, and then the Acolyte. So you really did a good job of branding it. And the images for all of these different tiers are very like on brand, and they're kind of dark, and you guys are all dressed up in your dues, and you got the equipment that you guys do, and the different perks of them were, I think, very well suited. Like you could just go in and buy a ticket to this online show, but it came with a CD/digital download of the show. So you're giving people a special physical item to kind of commemorate that you were there for this thing,
Mhm.
even though no one was physically there. They get
Yeah.
a piece of merch that actually tells them that they were there, so to speak. And but going up these tiers, they start including things like special. There's a special T-shirt that came along with it. Your new album. Actually, that's not your. Is that was that your new album? Dark Mode. Was that your newest one?
Yeah,
Was that
Dark Mode's the newest album, but Ritual, this is what like, it's such a deep, like, the cake is so many layers. So
yeah,
what we did, like, when we had to think of, like, what makes this worth doing, that's when I really again, Ryan bites off a lot more than he can chew. I was like, "Let's record a live album," and they're like, "What?" But let's do it in front of everybody. Let's kinda do, like, a one take live
yeah,
album and have someone there, we'll deal with it. We'll pre-mix it and do all the things that you have to do. We'll do all our producer tricks and all the things that we would do to make it
sure,
awesome. And we'll pre-produce it. We'll even rehearse it. We'll pre-play it. We'll do all the kind of stuff. And then we'll actually play like the for real version of it in front of all of our fans that buy these pieces of merch will come with a virtual
yeah,
ticket. And the idea here is that in 1 week, we've done so much pre-work. All we have to do is record, and Amir's already mixing it. In 1 week, it's gonna be shipped. We have everything designed, the album's designed, everything's designed, and anyone that participates in buying the bundles, they get their names in the album and according to their rank in the religious order. And so the master techno alchemists have their own like section. And so those are the exalted ones. And then you have
yeah,
the different levels, like the deacons, basically the deacon class supporters and the acolyte supporters. And I mean, I have this whole mythology that goes along with everything we do that's based off of
yeah,
like the imagery that we're creating and all that kind of stuff. But that's what makes it really, really special. And we didn't offer a la carte items until we sold out of the top two tiers. So we basically sold through the most expensive tier, and the most expensive tier comes with everything plus the special sort of like rank on the album. And there
mm,
might be another special thing that we might have. Sometimes we have like rare, interesting things like the test pressings for an album that
right,
we kind of own, but we don't know really what to do. So a lot of times we'll make those part of the higher level. At the highest level perk, you'll get like a one of a kind, only one in the world test pressing of Death to Analog or whatever it is. And these are like
yeah,
that's really cool. It's the only one in the world. So we'll keep that for the highest
yeah,
tiers. And then the next tier will basically be kind of like everything, but like a one level lower without like two of these really special things. And then it goes down from there and so on and so forth. And then once we sell through, then we broop, then we come up with all the a la carte items and that keeps the thing going. And that's one of the ways that you have to think is that this isn't like a set it and forget it. It's not a fire and forget missile that
right.
just finds its target.
I forgot that I can share screen on here, and so just in
Oh
case
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not live whenever
yeah.
people are watching this,
Oh
because people might watch
yeah,
this a year in the future, who knows?
yeah,
This was actually on your store, right? So you
yeah,
guys custom worked. You have this
yeah,
crowdfunding goal thing. People can actually see how their purchase reflects the little line thing and the target and the amount raised. But then you also have this very sexy layout here where people can see the individual items, and then you have these other individual items you were talking about. You broke apart after for people
mhm.
to go in
I don't know where the a la
and
carte items are. They're not don't seem to be showing below those, but
yeah, they were
it
when I
could
looked at a
it could
I
just
think.
be it could be some weird web thing, like internet thing right now.
Oh yeah, let me
I can tell
refresh it.
you that all the stuff that we're looking at that you're pointing out, all of that functionality had to be built, and it was not easy, and these are things that just come with Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So, I'm definitely not suggesting that everyone just go ahead and embark on this insane journey because it was tough. The reason that I was able to do this is because I know so well what makes these things work. I was able to work with a developer. We actually installed 5 crowdfunding apps into Shopify. None of which did what they did was you could put an item up and there was a ticker and you could crowdfund an item. And often they didn't like these developers, they kind of see these things happening and they sort of make something that kind of looks like it. They don't
Yeah,
understand the game. They don't understand like what a campaign is. They don't understand like that you need to crowdfund like a collection of items, but not your whole website. All of these things were things that we had to go through, and literally every night at like 10 p.m. was when I think Vietnam, the company, the app developer, I think they were Vietnamese,
mhm,
would get to work and then deal with me. And so we'd be emailing back and forth with like Ghost Circus and Eli and me. And and a friend named Mora who can actually write code and stuff, but was kind of just helping guide us. And this fun pop app seemed like it did the closest, but didn't really do it yet. And it turns out that none of these developers, they don't really know what crowdfunding is. And I found that a lot of
There.
people don't know what crowdfunding is. They kind of look at this and they don't really understand what the game is. They don't understand how much thought you have to put into it ahead of time. They don't understand that you have to plan on if you make, our last crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo did like $50,000. Well, if you make that, like how much is the shipping going to be? If you make that, like do you have enough products to equal 50 grand? A lot of people don't, they don't get it, so you're like, oh, well, I have like, we can sell 10,000 albums. Like newsflash, you're probably not going to sell 10,000 like albums. It's just not interesting enough. You
Yeah.
have to get a lot more interesting. You have to make more of a game out of it. You really need to think that the law of scarcity is what makes things more desirable. That is an economic law. Scarcity isn't something we all just made up. It's a law of nature. So if you exercise scarcity, we do this all the time. Almost everything we make, including our albums, our physical albums are limited. So when we
Yeah.
do another pressing, let's say we sell the 10,000, CDs that we created for the first run, the second run is going to be actually a different kind of art and different. We might even change like some of the songs. And that is just the way
Yeah.
we do things. Everything's limited and we have a really robust merch business because of it. Well, with the crowdfunding, you want to be even more, you want to make it a game even more. And a lot of things that I think that a lot of people miss, and this is, I think, why we were able to bring this over to Shopify and out of the Indiegogo world, bring it into our own world, and it still worked. The key to all of this is the fans, and it isn't having a million fans. It's having like 500 to 1,000 fans that give a shit about your band.
Right.
And what that means, I call it watering the garden. And a lot of bands that we work with my company at Framework, they want to do what we're doing. Everyone does. I mean, I have major management companies calling like, "Can you do this for this big band?" And it always comes down to, look, either they're big and they could just do a pre-sale and sell a ton. But if you're kind
Yeah.
of medium like us, what matters is, have you been watering the garden? So a year before you're going to do the crowdfunding campaign, have you been watering the garden? Have you been developing relationships with your fans? Because it's really tough to just walk up to someone off the street who you haven't seen in 5 or 6 years, and you don't talk to, and you don't answer their calls, and you don't interact with them, and you don't put stuff out for them, and you don't meet them where they are, and then be like, "Hey, we're trying to raise 50 grand. Like, can you buy a,
Yeah.
$1,500 perk? Can you that doesn't work. People will buy
I know artists
from
like that are like 10, 20 times bigger than you guys on Spotify, for example. And they'll, you know, open up a store online and they will quite literally not make $50 a month. They can't even afford like the money they're making doesn't even cover the Shopify monthly fee that they're paying. Even though they have like a half a million or a million monthly listeners. And that's really because the monthly listeners don't equal diehard fans. They're kind of like
Totally.
impressions, so to speak, right? They're
Yep.
they're fans, but they're not like super fans. But when you water the garden, as you call it, you're
Mhm.
constantly keeping your people happy and
Yep.
giving them cool things and giving them what they want and trying to gamify their experience and you're being an entertainer essentially by the
Yes.
definition.
Yes.
And you can see that in the chat too of the show last night that the vibe, people were like they wanted more. And when you guys finished the show, everyone was like, "Can you do another 5 songs, please? Can you do another 10 more?"
Yes.
And, like, is there a Q&A? Like, so people that bought into the crowdfunding to Ritual, not
Mhm.
only were they happy with their purchase, but they were like, "Give me more. Take my money," right?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
that that really shows that you satisfied them, but you've it's not a one-time thing. It's this long track record that you have of having
Yes.
good relationship with your fans and having a good track record of when they get something from you, you're going to deliver. And then they leave wanting more from you, right? And that's the vibe I got. It
Yeah.
was cool to see that from the crowd, so to speak.
You can tell that they trust us, right?
Yeah.
It's kinda crazy. It's
They
something
refer
that
to
I
you guys
haven't
by your
really.
names too. Like they're like
Yeah.
specifically like there's one part where you're like screaming in the microphone and someone was like Ryan's going beast mode or something, and then someone's like, oh, Amir's, like Amir was playing with the theremin at one point in the show, and they're like, they were talking, but they're addressing guys by name and they're making
Yeah.
inside jokes along the way. Like they
Yeah.
referred to your new drummer at one point, and then someone else
Yeah.
was like, new drummer,
Yeah.
like 'cause I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know what the joke is because I'm not
Yeah.
on the inside, but they were making inside
Yeah.
jokes with each other, and they knew each other. Some of these people, you know.
Yeah, it's a community. Yes, and we foster that. So via Patreon, via our Discord, via there's a chat now built into Patreon, which is kind of useful for me because I hate having to manage all these different things. Via our shows and VIP, the campaigns, we spent a lot of time putting together a pretty robust mailing list, which is now kind of a new thing for me that I'm learning how to use
Mm.
that in a major way, which will now turn into texting people now when we're in town and all this kind of stuff. I think that there's really with modern technology, there's really no limit there's no end to how deep you can go to try to get connected with your fans. And
Yeah.
I think really uh what do you call it? I think really dedicated artists are going to do everything that they can to get fans out at each show and all this kind of stuff. And I think nowadays you have to do that, especially after COVID, where pre-sales aren't like, you line up a tour and pre-sales are, 3 or 400, like at a club, whatever. And you're like, yeah, COVID completely seems to have changed that. For some reason, pre-sales like don't happen as much anymore. Like people will still show up, you can still sell stuff out, but you don't have that sureness. So, we've gotten really,
Yeah.
really deep through ads, through our mailing list, through every kind of vehicle that we know that we can really get to the people that care about us. We want to let them know. And the flip side of that is we're also not annoying. We also don't abuse them. We treat them like they're people who actually matter because they do. And we try to do it's not just ask, ask, ask. It's also kind of give, 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 and do cool stuff that they dig. And I think the trick, a lot of artists will listen to me talk, and believe me, I work with them, and they're like, it's like so much work, and I can't, like, oh my God, I gotta be authentic to myself. And I always just look, I'm like, do you think I'm not authentic? I'm completely fucking authentic, The reality of it is I'm just more honest with myself. I want people to like my music. I understand that we're in a relationship, and I understand that in a relationship, it goes both ways. And you're not just here to like satisfy me. I'm here also. I'm not going to lie to myself and act like I just want to sit in my studio and make myself happy. That isn't what I'm doing. It makes me happy to do, of course, but what
Mhm.
makes me happier is seeing people love it and react and enjoy it with me. And, so if you follow the reasoning and the logic down, you understand that this is a relationship. The ads that you
Yeah.
do have to be relationship like. The emails that you send out should have some personality that is actually you. What's fun is that our fans know that Ryan, the guy that's talking right here, is who I am. They also know that the guy from Julian K and Orgy and the artist can also speak in these like I can create these other dimensions like the ritual world, where
Yeah.
I've created classifications for our fans like it's a religious order. I mean, what am I out of my mind? But I do this all the time and they love it. They lovingly or jokingly call me the supreme commander. And I will eat that up and I'll roll with that and use that voice. At the end of the day, I'm just having fun with the people that like we're all just having a good time, but I'm also making little movies. I'm writing stories for people. You know, it's important for artists to understand that we are storytellers. We're not just like, guitar players or singers or, we are storytellers. Marketers are storytellers. Artists are storytellers. We are building a robust world that people want to interact in. And the crowdfunding campaigns are no different. When you
Yeah.
interact and get in there and start buying, you're going to start interacting with it. You're going to start getting into the game. And that's what we have to build. Something fun,
Yeah. I've
you
seen a
know?
lot of boring crowdfunding campaigns where it's just help us pay for our album.
Ugh,
And I mean, I'm sure for some, I know for a fact for some artists that has worked because there are plenty of fans who just want to give them money and have them
totally.
support their album. And sometimes they have some perks where like you'll get the vinyl, you'll get the CD, you'll get the
Mhm.
shirt. But I And there's ways you can do that that are more exciting, but the if you can make it feel in your own world and feel like this custom exciting thing that you're happy to be a part of that feels special, I think that that helps. And on the scarcity note, there's this cool label that I might have mentioned in another podcast thing I did, but they're a label called Wax Vessel. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they
Love the name.
yeah, and the idea of the name is that like vinyl records are like a time capsule, like a wax vessel. Then
Yeah,
in 100 years, because they're not biodegradable, they'll still be there as long as you take care of them. Where CDs will die of bit rot and digital
hmm
stuff can get deleted and
so cool.
cassettes will just kind of decay over time. And vinyls are kind of this like longer form thing. And so, but they find old deathcore bands and like other metalcore bands from like the mid 2000s that were like either never big enough or never had enough money to press their stuff to vinyl. And they do a
hmm
limited edition 250 to 300 copy run of that band's album, and then they never repress it ever again. And they
Amazing.
sell it for 25 bucks. So and then they give 100% of the profits to the bands. So it's a nonprofit thing too. And if you go in those guys' Facebook group, it sells out within like minutes because people that will buy it that don't even know the band because they want their own wax vessel record. And every record they do is some crazy variant with crazy patterning and stuff. And like they'll go and they'll hire graphic designers to redo the artwork and make it a super special over the top thing.
So
And so
cool.
everything's special, but it's still fairly priced. But it's 300, and their one rule is that they never repress anything, no matter what. So because of that, the resale market is bonkers, and the demand every time they drop something new is like bonkers. It sells out minutes or an hour, like
It's a
it's super
it's a
quick.
great lesson in creating brand equity, and bands can learn a lot by that, but through the scarcity, but also kind of doing the right thing. Like, I bet you no one would mind if they also made a little bit of money doing it, and I don't know if, they might evolve into that, but you think of it, a band isn't much different, right? We should be there's a lot of stuff that we do that's free, like, there's a lot of stuff that you do that's free, and you probably make a lot of money because of the free stuff you do, and it just turns
Yeah,
out that a lot of the education that you do is also the right thing to do. It's also good to teach people and share and do all that. It's why in AA, people who are addicts, hi, you learn to help other people, right? Because there's something that's intrinsically good about it, whether it's teaching people, helping people, whatever it is. So
yeah,
it's not evil to also make money doing that. So I
right.
think that building that brand equity that these people are like what they're doing something cool, they're doing something for a fair price, they're making it extremely scarce, and they're largely, it seems for right now at least, they're giving the money completely over to the artist, which is rad. At some point, if
Yeah,
they turn on the money button for themselves, I think it'd be completely fair. Think of a band a lot like
yeah.
that too, you know? Make really cool
I think
stuff,
the only way they
be
make
fair.
money is they'll occasionally do a limited edition T-shirt run that they let people buy too. But it's also like we have 250 T-shirts, they're gone, they're gone. They'll do it like twice a year, and that's how they make money. Aside from that, like the labels like their side thing. The people
Yeah,
who run it have their own jobs, and it's a nonprofit.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it's
It's a really good way to turn it into a profit because now you can see, because they've created the culture and they've built in that
yeah,
value and that trust, they could probably start doing more than t-shirts and it would really, really work. And, I
totally,
think that what we do is not that different, in a way. I mean, I know that there are differences, but I think some of those core
yeah.
concepts are very important, and
The
it's
this
cool
whole
to study.
scarcity mindset, and it's much different than like what would you rather buy? An album that you know will be sold forever till the end of time on Amazon for 25
Yeah.
bucks, or an album that there's only gonna be 300 copies ever made to vinyl or CD, whatever physical format, for
Wow.
50 bucks, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there is something cool about owning something that other people can't get anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You,
that's
you
I
might
think
notice
that's helps a lot.
we sold a cassette as part of our campaign. Now we know that
Yeah,
a cassette is not something that most people can't even play it, but it looks really cool. It's an object. It's something kind of special. It is actually our album, and we have a song on there that you can't get anywhere else. So we do some weird stuff. We
yeah,
understand that that's almost inaccessible, but there's something very special about doing that as well. Like we put a song on there. Like there's the album and another song that you can't get, so we do
All of
some
a
weird
sudden,
game.
the local eBay is just selling Walkmans. And like, why are all these people buying Walkmans?
Yeah,
Like, oh, Julian K
yeah,
sold a cassette.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised if people are like finding their old Walkmans and like finding like old, component, hi-fi gear and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it is just part of it is just fun stuff. The cool thing about vinyl though, right now, vinyl's doing great. We sell vinyl like crazy, and I think that everything that you said about that brand, Wax Vessel, is completely true. People are really, really liking that physical
Yeah.
thing that is valuable, made on this cool material, and yeah, it's a big deal. The only issue we have with vinyl is the lead time, and that is a
Yeah.
serious, serious concern when you're doing crowdfunding and all this kind of stuff. We would have shipped our last album, completely been done and shipped it within weeks of the campaign ending if it wasn't for vinyl. And something that you got to keep in mind when you do crowdfunding, you have to understand that all this stuff has to be shipped. And for our campaigns, shipping sometimes is $10,000. So when you sell thousands of items, it is going to be thousands of dollars. You got to think about
Yeah.
that. And you got to think about, if you make a poster, what does that go in? How does that go with the other items? And you have to, one of the
Yeah.
tricky things about Indiegogo and Kickstarter is you have to pre-figure all this stuff out. And it's very easy to get it wrong, and to
Yeah.
find out that you sold, I have friends of mine that are happy when they have like a $15,000 campaign. For us, that would be like, we'd be in trouble. But they do that, and then they find out the shipping's 9 grand, and I'm just like, well, you made this poster and you have this vinyl and this other thing. How are you going to ship it? They won't all go in one thing. So these are
Yeah.
like really out of the box things. Uh, I mean, we get hired for this kind of stuff to kind of help people figure it out, but you have to figure this stuff out. This, especially if it works, you don't want it to be working like crazy and not even understanding that you're actually selling something that comes with this backside that's going to really, really hurt you.
But yeah, thanks, dude, for coming on. We'll have links in the description and stuff, so everyone check out Ryan, check out all your various things. You got a lot of things, but like there'll be links down the description. So check them out.
Yeah.
Check
We'll
out
be on
Framework.
tour all the rest of the year, all over the country. So guys, come out and see us. It'll be fun.
Heck
Julian
yeah.
K. We'll be out with Union Underground, Spine Shank, Julian K, Carbon Stone. That's going to be in September. We're headlining in October, and then we're in Europe in late October, November. So
Cool. Thanks for coming on, man.
thank you, my brother.
If you're enjoying this interview, there's 30 more minutes of it coming your way, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss that. So you only saw half of this interview, and in the second part, we discuss how Korn actually helped launch Brian's music career. We talk about how if you were to have $5,000, how would Ryan recommend marketing your music, and a whole bunch of other interesting topics, so make sure you stay tuned for that.
So, guys, there's this Lizo video. We even got tagged in it by somebody wanting our thoughts on it. I don't know what I did in my life to go wrong to be tagged in Lizzo's comments, but here we go. Let's take a listen to what she's saying here.
Hi, I'm a multiple Grammy Award winning artist with multiple number ones and multiple platinum plaques, soon to be diamond plaque. If you are upcoming in this industry, you should watch this video. The music industry is in complete shambles right now, and you can use that to your advantage. Back in the day, the music industry was very algorithmic, as any other industry was, but that industry was controlled to a certain extent. Now that we are in the digital streaming age, there is no control over the algorithm, and it is stressing people the fuck out, myself included. Every major artist besides Beyonce has dropped music this year, or is planning to drop music this year, or has featured on somebody's record this year. I dropped a mixtape over the summer. I had SZA and Doja Cat on it, and I just dropped the deluxe to my mixtape today. And yet there are still people who don't even know I dropped music. Every major artist from Lady Gaga to Drake has dropped albums this year, and yet everyone is saying there's no song of the summer. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. It's not because the music isn't incredible. It's because the way that the algorithm is set up, no one can serve the masses anymore. This industry used to be based on serving the masses, basically like servicing your song out to certain channels and certain radio stations. The internet space wasn't so congested. There was a clear channel back in the day for major artists to put their music out and serve the masses. Now you have to serve your people. I started a private page just for my fans, Lizo IRL, and it has been one of the most incredible experiences for me as an artist. It gives me an opportunity to talk to my fans one on one and give them the exclusives, share music with them, share my deep thoughts with them. My deep thoughts are not on my main page anymore. And that allows me to have a dialogue with the people who actually give a fuck about me. Because with this algorithm, just putting your music out 9 times out of 10 is not even going to reach your fan base. Think about the way this TikTok algorithm works. Look how many followers I have. Look how many followers you have. And when you post a video, how many of your followers actually see your video? Not that many, right? Because even though someone is following you, it's not guaranteed that they're going to see you on their FYP. And everyone uses their FYP. And TikTok knows that. So for new artists, this is actually incredible news. You now more than ever have an advantage over even major artists to get your music out there and connecting with people at a way quicker rate. Right now is the time to put yourself out there. I wouldn't even try to go the old school route and get signed. I would just make as much music as possible, as much content as possible, and put it on the internet. As for bigger artists, bigger mainstream artists, now is the time to talk to your fan base. Taylor Swift does an incredible job of it, and she's been doing it for a long time. The Swifties are locked the fuck in. And now, so are the lesbians. We're small, but we're motherfucking mighty. Anyway, I say all that to say that this year has been an incredible year for music. It just hasn't been on your algorithm. Stream My Face Still Hurts from Smiling, out today.
I did not know that she calls her fans the lesbians, but
Mhm.
very clever. That caught me off guard.
It
just
is
wanna
a
say,
very good name for a fan base.
I just
Yeah.
want to say the Freudian slip of there used to be a clear channel killed me.
That literally that sent me like few things have sent me.
Wait, there used to be a clear channel? Is there something I'm missing here?
So
It's
Clear
a radio
Channel
thing.
was what iHeartRadio used to be called, and it was notoriously the most payola-ridden bullshit thing of all time. It's where many, many lawsuits stem from. Also, just satanic era of things. But the big thing here that she's essentially shouting is why, because I'm on a label, can't I have cultural dominance in a monoculture where I get served to? Because her album is tanking because she has 2 lawsuits against her from different sets of people she's worked with alleging abuse. And I will tell you, and I can tell you very anecdotally, since I have a lot of friends work with Lizzo, they've all said the same fucking thing. And you'll be shocked to hear that the influential people in her culture are not having her shit after that.
The biggest takeaway I had, like my reaction just watching that video was like, duh? Question mark? Like, just like, the Patreon guy had that video like death of the algorithm,
Jack
or
Conte, that's a great
death of the
video.
follower rather.
Yeah, great video.
And like this is kind of the trend online over a while. It's like followers are kind of less important. It's like all algorithmic based. And then another thing she mentioned is like everyone kind of has their own algorithm. There's not like a monoculture, which I think we did the video about in the past, something death of the monoculture, which is like also kind of duh, right? Like that's been kind of how the world's been going. There's no like Michael Jacksons anymore, right? It's like because everyone has their own little niches. I mean, there's still like the big
It's
artists.
just Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift and the One Direction boys and Jonas Brothers are kind of
what I think is best described is the long tail theory of that. You guys, is that like really the top is still very mono, but everything else is much more diversified. But she mentioned the Song of Summer discussion as proof of this, which is a really stupid thing I hear people say all the time, which is there was no Song of the Summer. It was Alex Warren's Ordinary. Just the thing is, everyone who discusses things hates that song with such a passion they can't admit it was that song. That was the Song of the Summer. It was number 1 the whole fucking summer. It's the Song of the Summer. We just hate the song. I fucking hate it. I'd rather be skinned alive than have to listen to it on repeat.
Jeez, Jesse. Like
It's a horrible song. It makes the worst Obamacore, Hopecore, Coldplay songs seem like a treat.
I feel like the song of the summer thing is like very, once we cleared a point where people, especially post pandemic, where people like are not in places dominated by radio as much, like you're not gonna notice. I don't fucking know. Like now that we're like enough years into every car having Bluetooth, like I
I will
haven't
also
listened to the
argue, like,
radio.
Man-Child by Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, it was another very
Yeah, but
popular song this summer, just like
Yeah.
Espresso
yeah,
was the previous one.
And so like there's definitely like, it's not as it's not as much because like not everyone's listening to the radio and stuff because everyone has like phones and Spotify or whatever thing they use, but it's like it's still, I don't know. I feel like TikTok has kind of been a good glue because like the amount of people I know like, oh, I found this song on TikTok and I love it, and then it's like, oh, okay, that the TikTok is ironically kind of the thing that's still creating songs for the summer.
Add on to your argument here, two of the other songs of the summer, Somber Back to Friends and Raven Lene, whatever her song is called, both come from TikTok. And those were also some songs many people pointed to as songs of the summer. So I think that this is this has been one of the more silly discussions that I initially did buy into, I will admit, and have bought very out of upon reflection now that the summer is done.
It does seem kind of like her opinion is like, I'm this top tier artist, and it used to be the case that the industry had this lock control over everything that people heard. That's no longer the case. Mad, woe is me. Like that kind of felt like what her video was,
yeah.
and she's going like more direct to fan, and she started her own club, and so which I've seen other bigger artists start to do too, is they're kind of learning the value of like owning their audience instead of having like a label own their audience and their distribution, which is great. Great for Lizzo. I still think her music sucks. That's great. And but again, it was kind of like a duh question mark.
You do hit on the thing that she's doing that I actually think is the most interesting thing, the smart thing in here, which is that making that Lizzo IRL account where you're sharing much more personal things, you're making it more exclusive, essentially doing what I think is the opposite of the fan account strategy, which is the Finsta strategy, where on one side, fan accounts are leaking all these things and pretending it's not you sharing it. The Finsta strategy is you going, I'm going to do my own leaks and I'm going to show my fans who I really am and not care that it's coming from me. And that, to me, is going to create a huge connection with a lot of fans. Charlie XCX did it very well with the 360 Brat account, and it was a genius strategy. I think before her, Ariana Grande did it, but I might have that wrong.
Yeah. No, you definitely see it more and more, but I also think it's like one of the brutal realities that you're really not supposed to say out loud is like, if you're a Lizzo, you are much more likely to have a moment of cultural dominance and then have it all be downhill than for it to like keep ratcheting up every time. And so the way to have the most fun and do what you actually want to do is to go, okay, well, I identified the 100,000 people who care about me the most. We're just going to super serve them, because otherwise you're just like otherwise you're just Katy Perry, where you're just like constantly trying to like figure out a new way to go back to the thing that worked, but not understanding what made it work. And now you're going on dates with Justin Trudeau, who like,
Wait,
we have some inside scoops on Trudeau. We're not going to, I think
they're apparently dating, unfortunately.
Yeah, but there's some other stuff about him that we know that we're not supposed to talk
what a
about.
power couple.
And also, real Obama core, if I've ever heard of a couple.
No, exactly. But what I'm saying is like so many artists like have a moment. You cannot expect that will always just keep leveling up, right? And it's also a lot more fun just to go work with and serve the people who get you the most, and just realize like there's also a reason that like you see this with actors all the time. They have like a big cultural moment and they make a shit ton of money, and then they're like, okay, I want to go do art films.
I feel like Ed Sheeran kind of is living that life now. Like he was originally like acoustic guitar pop singer dude, and then he's like, I'm gonna go make like the biggest album ever in recent times and go do like some electronic pop stuff with autotune. And then now he's back to being like folk acoustic rock Ed Sheeran. It's cool to see because he can. It's like from his perspective, he can do whatever he wants, right? He has such a huge audience and he probably has so much money that artistically, like, why would he not do whatever he wants? Unless he's just is never happy with whatever he's hit, but he seems to just be doing what he wants, which is awesome to see. But it doesn't seem like he's trying to, like, I don't know, always reinvent himself and do something fake like a lot of artists do. Like, I don't know, Machine Gun Kelly, for example. And not to throw shade, but like the dude keeps bouncing, and maybe
I'll throw the shade factory. Right.
yeah, I mean, like, maybe that's just who he is. Maybe he's just very eccentric and he gets bored and he wants to keep trying new things. Like, there is a skill to like trying new things or whatever, but like, I don't know. I get the vibe that he's just continually trying to follow trends to kind of keep pushing himself further.
Yeah, I will say this. I got a great idea. If Ed Sheeran wants to revert to his original form of marketing, torrent-only records, because Ed Sheeran is the biggest artist to ever get popular almost exclusively from torrents.
Wait, like,
All Ed Sheeran's original marketing was all based off torrents. It was in the peak of the torrent era.
oh,
There's been a lot of content this week about how like the vibes in the music industry are bad. And like, oh, people are, there was that video about Spotify's terms and conditions are screwing you over. And there's the other, can I ever remember her name? The woman who writes for Billboard, who's really,
Kristen Robinson.
yeah, she's so smart. She was talking about like people getting fired. But like, she was a really good example that she actually made a follow-up video of like, oh, it's been bad before, right? Like, I think it's very easy to just like constantly make all this negative content. Like, I also think like on that video about Spotify changing their terms of service to be like more exploitative of artists, like, I don't know what it said before, but pretty much nothing that she highlighted was like not something that isn't in every single license type deal, right? Because it's like, if I'm going to distribute your content, I need to cover my ass 9 ways to Sunday. Even if I'm not going to actually use it to train AI or whatever, I need you to not sue me.
Reading the quote that people are copying and pasting from the terms of service: by providing content to the service, you grant us a worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-licensable, and transferable license to use that content, including to reproduce, distribute, repair derivative works, display, and perform it in conjunction with the service platform and to our affiliates and successors, yada, yada, yada. That's essentially what people are complaining about, except what I just read is not Spotify's terms of service, it's YouTube's. Right? And if you could look it up for Apple, you could look it up for Instagram, you could look it for TikTok. It's probably worse for TikTok. It's probably significantly worse for TikTok.
No, but like, this is literally what I'm saying, right? Is like, literally, you need to sign a release or whatever, because if I want to go use Andrew's song for a political thing that he doesn't agree with, Spotify cannot have it where he can sue Spotify.
Yeah.
Because I was able to use that song on an Instagram post.
Right.
One of the things I will say too is that Crystal, Top Music Attorney, does those great things where she breaks down all the different distributors, ones they do. But I'll get these musicians in my comments who are saying, well, but I saw that DistroKid has this. I'm like, great. Show me the distributor that doesn't have that in their agreement. Almost all their agreements are the same fucking thing, barring Lander, who has some satanic stuff in theirs.
Yeah. This is also kind of like when people get mad about certain clauses in record deals, and then I have to be like, nah, that's in every record deal. And again, this is usually pretty basic stuff like, oh, we have the right to license it to whoever without checking with you, or because like they can't, like, licensing is like such a bang thing that like they can't wait for an artist who might be on tour to hit them back, or like, oh, we have the right to refuse something you submit, because you could submit something that fucking sucks. Like,
well, my favorite one I had a while ago is somebody came out and had me look at their contract, and I always say you should get a lawyer, but I'll look at it. But they were like, they keep using the word exploit. I can't be exploited, and I'm like, buddy, I got bad news for you. Every contract I've ever signed says the word exploit.
pretty sure the contract I signed for this shit had the word exploit.
I think you're right. I think so musicians know we have an agreement with the four of us, and it says exploited.
Yeah. Some people like don't know what words mean, and like they don't realize like exploiting something isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? If you buy a car, you want to fully exploit the use of that car so you can get the most value out of it, right? That's not a bad thing. Yeah.
Well done. Well done. All right.
Good job, musicians. Really, really giving us hope for the future. I think like people need to slow down and look things up more.
Mhm.
overall, because there's been so many like just Twitch reactions to stuff in the really all the time, but in the last year, I feel like it's been worse, where people see something and they immediately there's thousands of TikToks about it, and everyone's yanking their music from Spotify, or everyone's hating on this platform, and then it comes out a week later where they were just wrong.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I think that you have a bad algorithm.
Literally, everything is a fucking milkshake duck at this point.
Yeah. Wait, a what?
The milkshake duck is this term for internet things that everybody goes, oh my God, look at this cute duck. He's drinking a milkshake. 1 week later, the duck is racist. And it's just like what happens. You find out something bad about everything good, and there's a second side to it. And that, like, every time I see a thing, like I was joking, like when that yodeling kid Mason Ramsey came out, I'm like, he's probably killed 60 people. Like, you know, we're just going to find that out in a week because everybody loves this in a moment because that's how the internet works now.
Yeah. But I think people need to like slow down a bit and not make life-altering career decisions off of something they saw on the internet without doing their due diligence.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. We're trying to get this to go as far as possible. So please start a conversation with a musician friend by sending it to them.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our episodes every Tuesday. And if you could rate us on Apple and Spotify, it really helps us. And tune in next week for even more.